Okay, so on to the income and expenditure account. So as I was saying in the previous video, your receipts side here is going to be the basis for your income. The payments here is going to be the basis for your expenditure, but you are going to need to adjust figures. So remember, this is cash in, this is cash out, but your income and expenditure account isn't just cash in and cash out. It's everything attributable to 2017 in and out. So it will include and exclude some stuff, and your expenditure is also going to include non-cash items like depreciation. So here's our income, here's our expenditure. We need to look out for stuff here as well that we might be using to adjust either income or expenditure, and then some of the adjustments down here might come in as well. So receipts from guests, rent from holiday home, receipts from bicycle hire. There's 3 income items that I'm going to have. Payments then, provisions for bed and breakfast. Yeah, so that's probably like the food and drink that you're putting out for the bed and breakfast. That's an expense. Light and heat, yes. Drawings is not an expense. So drawings is the owners of the business taking money out. So that gets taken away from your capital at the bottom of your balance sheet. Wages is expenditure, laundry expenditure, advertising expenditure, repairs and maintenance expenditure. This is just your closing bank balance. This is your opening bank balance. So they're not receipts or payments. Okay, so your closing bank balance is going to go in your balance sheet. All right, so everything there except drawings and balance is expenditure. The 3 of those are income. This is not. So just then returning up here, stock of fuel and heating oil of 2,000. So fuel and heating oil, this is going to interact with your light and heat. Okay, so you're going to need to adjust light and heat in respect to that 2,000. You've also got advance deposits from tourists for the holiday home. So you receive money in advance for the holiday home. So that's going to interact with this 16,000 here. So you're going to need to adjust that as well in respect to that 1,500. Down the bottom then, bicycles to be depreciated by 15%, equipment and linen by 20%. So we're going to have depreciation in the expenditure. Owing to local provision store, 180. So that's going to interact with your provisions here. 1/5 of the provisions purchased were used by the family. So that's also going to affect your provisions. It'll affect somewhere else. We'll talk about that when we get to it. Receipts from guests includes booking deposits for 2018 of 2,250. So receipts from guests includes some 2018 stuff, which doesn't belong in the 2017 accounts. So we're going to need to adjust this receipts from guests as well. Stock of oil then 930. That's also going to affect your light and heat. So we're going to have to adjust that twice. All right. You can do these then as kind of formal separate workings, or I'm just going to do them as part of the income and expenditure account, like in brackets after the items, because they're mostly simple enough adjustments. Grand. So in my income and expenditure account then, 2 columns will be fine, and we start off listing the income. So the first one, receipts from guests. So that is 34,600, but we said we will need to adjust it, and we need to adjust it because it includes 2,250, which is for next year. So if that's for next year, it doesn't belong in this year's income and expenditure account. It belongs in 2018's income and expenditure account. So let's subtract 2,250 from this. So 34,600 take away 2,250 is 32,350. And then where else is that going to go? That 2,250 will be going onto the balance sheet. All right, and we'll talk about where it'll go when we get there, but it's certainly going to go onto the balance sheet. I've got rent from holiday home. And I'm going to need to adjust that as well. So the 16,000. And then what do I need to do here? So I had advance deposits from tourists for holiday home 1,500. So I received in 2016, in the previous year, 1,500, which was for people staying in 2017. Well, if it's for staying in the holiday home in 17, it belongs in the 17 accounts. So you're going to add that 1,500 on. So 17,500. That's all you're going to do with the 1,500, okay? Because it's an open, so it's 1 January is when so it's kind of done with now. It's these ones down the bottom that I need to enter into 2 different places. So this needs to go on the balance sheet as well. All right. Yeah. So receipts from bicycle hire 2,600. There was no need to adjust that. Okay. So income from bicycle hire. It's 2,600. Add the 3 of those together and you get 52,450. Then I've got my expenditure. So provisions for the bed and breakfast. So provisions. So €9,100 is like my starting amount. Owing to local provision store 180. So if I owe that at the end of the year, I must have bought those provisions during 2017, so you need to add them on. Okay, so remember this is payments of cash. So if you haven't actually paid for these provisions, they won't be included in the 9,100, but they are for 2017, so they should be included. So 9,100 plus 180 is 9,280. The reason I'm adding that here is I'm told that 1/5 of the provisions purchased were used by the family. Okay, so 1/5 of those provisions aren't an expenditure for the business. Okay, so they should go into drawings. So you need to get 1/5 of your 9,280. And that's 1,856. And you're going to take that away from this year's provisions. Okay, and that is 7,424. And then that 1,856. That's going to go in the balance sheet. Okay, we're going to add that on to drawings. This 180, you owe money to someone at the end of the year, so that's going to go in the balance sheet. Owed at the end of the year, that's a current liability. Okay, next then on my expenditure, light and heat, and I said I have to adjust that. So light and heat. Starting amount there is 2,700. And what am I adjusting it for? Well, stock of fuel at the start of the year of 2,000. So this is fuel I bought last year, but I'm using it this year. So if it was sitting there at the start of this year, okay, I would have used that €2,000 this year. So if I used it this year, it belongs in this year's accounts. So you need to add 2,000. Okay, so because you paid for it last year, it's not going to be included in this 2,700. This is just payments made during 2017. So that's a payment made during 16, but for something you used during 17, so the 2,000 gets added on. And then at the end I've got stock of oil, €930. So that is included in that 2,700 because you must have paid for that oil if it's sitting there at the end of the year. But if it's sitting there at the end of the year, you're not using it until next year. So you take it away. If you're not using it during 2017, it shouldn't go in 2017's accounts. So if you add those, you get 3,770. Alright, and then that's stock of oil. That's a closing stock of oil. So that's going to go in the balance sheet as a current asset. Alright, so I said drawings just goes on the balance sheet, 3,600, and then just put an asterisk beside it because you're going to add this 1,856 onto it. But as I said, not to the balance sheet. Wages then of 17,200, no adjustment to make there. Laundry 2,900, no adjustment to make there. Advertising 1,400. No adjustment to make there. Repairs and maintenance 6,300. No adjustment to be made there. And that's 6,300. That's just your closing bank balance. That doesn't go into your expenditure. That's the bank balance in the balance sheet. Do I have any other expenditure down here? Yep. Okay, so I've got my depreciation. So depreciation on bicycles. And depreciation on equipment and linen. We're not depreciating the premises that we had, or so the premises or the holiday home. So the equipment and linen is 5,500, and we're going to depreciate that by 20%. So 5,500 multiplied by 20% is 1,100. And then the bikes get done by 15%, so bicycles 6,400 by 15% is €960. And that's all the expenditure I've got. So you're going to add all those up, you get 41,054. So take those away, and that's 11,396. And in an income expenditure account, we call that excess income over expenditure rather than profit or loss. Alright, so 11,396. So this is also, just like the answer to my capital earlier, this 11,396 is going to come in again to the finance by section of my balance sheet, and I'll do the balance sheet then in a separate video.